well-being. What is it?
It's a big umbrella, isn't it? Because well-being, because the thing is that people talk about well-being and they think mental well-being quite often, so they'll just focus on that, but it encompasses everything. So it's nutrition, it's movement, it's where you live, it's your environment, it's everything really that makes up your life. And when one or more of those areas are not quite right, then that's when it starts having an impact on you.
And I find like it trickles on from one thing to another, because if you aren't sleeping, sleep is a big one for us. If you aren't sleeping properly, then you probably don't feel like exercising, so you don't really exercise, and then maybe you have a nap in the afternoon, so then you can't sleep again that night, and then maybe you're tired, so you don't make a nutritious meal and you just get the McDonald's or whatever, and then everything starts to slip. It's like a waterfall effect. Yeah, like dominoes. Everything, your whole well-being row of dominoes, things start to fall.
Yeah, there's an acronym in DBT, dialectical behavioural therapy, when people are struggling to cope, which is HALT, H-A-L-T, which is hungry, angry, lonely and tired. 4 things that are always going to impact your mood. And I would always put thirsty on the end, because people forget about hydration, and it's really important because your brain needs a lot of liquid. You know, we all need a lot of it.
I definitely feel it if I'm not drinking enough water. I can feel it. I know like by how I feel like I'm slowing down. My brain slows down and I feel more tired and I feel more lethargic. I can definitely tell. Drinking water makes a big difference.
And also,
so
also with sleep, think about relaxation as well, because it's not just you're so exhausted that you fall asleep and that's it. It's also about being able to wind down and relax. So you were talking about just you and David just sitting there eating what you want in front of the TV, just relaxing.
Yeah. So you don't have to be like awake and go or asleep. There should be something in between that. Yeah. I think so many of us are missing out on that now. If I think like how busy my life is, there's constant demands on my time. I mean, I'm not even working right now and I only have one child, and I'm just it's constant. There's constantly something that needs to be done, or there's constantly something that is slipping that I feel like, okay, my child's fine. I've done everything for the school and everything like that is sorted out. And I've done everything I need for the YouTube channel, but I'm like 3 days behind on my degree studies. And there's a huge pile of laundry. Okay, this weekend I did all the laundry, but I didn't do any of the studying and I didn't spend any time with my child. So it's like, you can never keep all the balls in the air. That's how I feel. I think
you're not supposed to.
Yeah, you just gotta, like, at some point you gotta let the laundry go. Just be like, good enough, it's fine. we have clothes to wear this week, it'll be okay.
And you can't study if you're exhausted, so you can't. The thing is that you've got if you ever did any project management, you have a RAID log, so you have your risks, assumptions, issues and dependencies, and you've got lots and lots of dependencies.
Yeah.
So if you are racing around trying to get everything done so that you can study, and you put study last, by the time you get to study,
you're too tired to take anything in. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So
but it's about what? It's about prioritizing.
Yeah, so that's what I was just going to ask. How do we prioritize?
So you can work on the 4 quadrants. Have you ever heard of the 4 quadrants? Old standard management technique. So you split your to-do list up into 4. So your first one is urgent, important.
Right.
Those are the things.
Oh, yes, I have heard of this.
Yeah. So you've got your urgent, important. Then you've got your urgent, not important.
Mm-hmm.
Then you've got your not urgent, important.
Mm-hmm.
And then the last one is your not urgent, not important.
Yeah, which is like your bottom of your to-do list will probably never happen.
But it's also about being really clear on when you said, I've got all this stuff that has to be done.
Mm.
Does it?
Does it?
To be done.
I think I've gotten a lot better lately with just being like, you know what? It's fine. I'm gonna leave. David does the dishes, but sometimes we'll just be like, let's just get takeout, leave the dishes, let's just watch the show. It's fine. Things don't have to happen. But there are so many things that do have to happen, you know?
They have to.
Yeah.
They should.
Well, like you have to look after your kid.
Okay.
You have to look after yourself. You have to like grocery shop so that people can eat. You have to do laundry so that people have clean clothes to wear. You know, you probably have to work or study, or there's some other kinds of demands on your time.
You do, but it's about sometimes it's, can you combine any of those? So can you take your child shopping and have fun playing games, give your child that, depending on their age, give them their own list?
We do that. Yeah, we do that. We draw her a little list so that she goes and of the
she
things
likes
that
for a bit.
Yeah, like the things that she likes. So like bananas or, you know, whatever. Then she grocery shops for the things that she likes for herself.
Quality time is time that you are giving her your attention, your time, and doing things with it. It doesn't have to be structured, sit at home, you know, you don't have to always be crafting something or making cakes.
Yeah, I think this mom pressure is so real. I think possibly even worse for stay-at-home moms, because you feel like, I'm a stay-at-home mom, this is what I do, this is my job. So they feel even more pressured to, every day we have to bake or art or craft or activities or going out or book a show or whatever we may be doing. And I think particularly for moms, any kind of well-being for ourselves just falls to the bottom of the list. I mean, I only have the one child and she's at school now, so got a lot more free time now. But David and I have both been stay-at-home parents for extended periods of time throughout our child's life when she was smaller. And it's just like the self-care just really falls off the bottom of the priority ladder. But it can't, because then everything else starts to topple as well. You cannot be a good parent and look after your child properly if you are completely depleted. Like if you're an empty cup, if she has a meltdown, for example, when she was 2 and we were in lockdown and all of us were together all the time, and she's having a total meltdown because she wants pink socks or whatever the 2-year-old big crisis of the moment may be, if you're feeling depleted and exhausted and overwhelmed and overstimulated, you can't respond to that correctly. You're gonna just go, shut up, stop it, here's the pink socks, or you can't have pink socks, whatever. You're not gonna, empathize or understand or have patience. So I think moms do need to be prioritizing this a bit more. But how do you do that when you're at home all day with, say, 2 kids, a baby and a toddler, or which I think a lot of people are, or you have one in school and a small one at home? How do you do that?
How do you get the laundry done? How do you get the shopping done? The thing is that what happens, because you put it right at the bottom of your list, you say, oh, it's too hard, I can't do it. But if you say, well, that's my priority, so my urgent important is to spend 30 minutes, always start with 30 minutes. So 30 minutes of doing something for you. So if you've got a child at school and one at home, you'd hope that the one at home is going to nap, because they might be of that age.
Yeah.
So within that nap, you don't go, right, now I'm going to tidy up and wash up and get the washing on and send that email.
Which we do. We all do that. Yeah. Every mom I know.
You go, 30 minutes, it's golden time. What do I want to do?
Yeah. Yeah. Generally, you'll end up doing laundry or dishes or...
Just your time.
Yeah. Yeah. Just don't. Just sit down. Have a cup of coffee.
If that's what you want to do, if you want to do movement, don't, call it movement, not exercise, because it's movement. It doesn't have to be something that creates a sweat or works your muscles out, but it could be, put some music on and dance for 20 minutes if you want.
Yeah, do some yoga, do a little bit of stretching. That always makes me feel so much better. Even just like 15 minutes of stretching and yoga can like change my whole day. Or you could do like a little meditation, some mindfulness, something like that can also change your whole day, especially if you've had a really tough morning. Maybe you had a bad night and you didn't sleep well because your baby was awake or whatever. And then you're having that kind of morning where you're just like, how am I going to get through to 6 p.m. or 5:30 p.m. when my husband gets home and I can just give him his child for 10 minutes. Just, a little bit of meditation, clearing your mind, clearing some of that overstimulation, because kids are massively overstimulating all the time. Can just
more than others.
Some more than others, yeah. And you can just like breathe through the afternoon, it can really turn your whole day around.
If that works for you, yeah. I mean, some people might just want to, you can read a book for a little while, watch a podcast, listen to a podcast. That doesn't take as much, you can sit on the sofa with, a cup of tea and 3 hobnobs. It doesn't matter what it is. It's just
I don't know what a hobnob is, but
a hobnob.
I'm assuming it's something tasty.
It's a biscuit.
The biscuit.
Right. It's okay. David knows.
It's like a digestive, I think.
Okay.
It's sort of a bit more oaty. It's a bit more textured. It's quite nice. You get plain ones and you get chocolate ones.
So let's talk about practical steps, right? So I don't know where I read this the other day, but like I think David and I have been talking about it a lot as well, the separation of physical and mental health. I think we talk about them as separate categories, but they aren't. I did an episode as well with Elliot Reed, the osteopath, and he was like, water is water. I think that was his analogy. Whether you call it a river or a stream, it's still water. So health is health. It doesn't matter. It's interconnected. If you're neglecting one, the other's going to fail. You have to look after both. So well-being is all of those things. So it's the taking the break, doing the meditation or reading the book, whatever your nurturing activity might be, which is different for all of us. So you're taking a walk or whatever, spending time with your dog or your cat or whatever. But it's also the movement, like you say, the little bit of movement, the taking care of your nutrition, not having too much caffeine in some cases.
Well, it's balance. It's balance, because what happens is we go all or nothing. So we go, right, that's it. I'm going to be healthy.
Absolutely.
I'm not going to have any sugar. I'm not going to have any caffeine, and I'm going to be really miserable and really shout at everybody. But it's finding a balance, and it's finding a balance for your body as well. So it's trying to say, okay, so nutritionally, we always say, what could you add rather than take away? So rather than taking things away, you say, okay, so I'm still going to, so every afternoon I sit down and I have a cup of tea and 2 hobnobs, as their now biscuit of choice. So what could I do? Okay, so I could have half an apple.
Mm-hmm.
You're still having your biscuits, but you're gonna have some fruit with it. It's about adding something that's a little bit more nutritionally dense and
I like
less
that.
processed.
Yeah, and because I think that's going to work a lot better with like self-talk instead of the you are not allowed to have. Oh, with dinner every day, I'm gonna give myself one extra vegetable. You know, I normally have one vegetable with dinner. I'm gonna try and make 2 vegetables with dinner from now on. Yeah, I like that. That's good. I think the other thing then is negative self-talk. So the beating
our negative self-talk. The thing with that is that all of the time we are putting ourselves under this pressure. So you've said a stay-at-home mum, it's now their job. And a lot of people that have had really exacting jobs will then treat being a parent as if it's another career. And they'll take all of that pressure on, except there's nobody setting objectives other than, you know, the perfect mums on Instagram. So now you're going, well, I need to be this perfect one. I need to do this and I need to do that. So it is about starting to go, okay, every child's individual as well. You know, these, you know, we wake up and we meditate with my 3-year-old and then we go and sit down and we read a book and we do all this. And it's great. You may have a child that does that. You may also have a child that's running around that you need to just run around the garden with for 20 minutes. You know, it's negative self-talk a lot of the time comes from expectations
and comparisons.
And nobody posts. There are a few people, but not many, that post on social media, I really don't like my child at the moment. I am exhausted. They are horrible. I don't know why I did this. Everybody feels that at some point, but no one's going to say it.
You know, like, it was one of the things that surprised me most. Nobody tells you how hard it is. Nobody tells you how hard it is. Nobody tells you how exhausting becoming a parent is. And then once you have a child, you're not allowed to say, like, I'm exhausted. And sometimes I go to bed thinking, like, what have I done? Am I ever going to have myself and my body and my life back? Even, you know, I mean, even people that wanted kids for ages and always dreamed about being a mom. I'm admittedly not one of those people. Even they're allowed to think that. Even they're allowed to think like, oh, hell, this is so much harder than I expected it to be. Why did I do this? I think we need to allow ourselves that.
I remember when my son was a baby and you know when the health visitors come round and she said to me, how are you doing? Now I had a C-section, so I couldn't go anywhere. I went out for walks even though technically I wasn't allowed, but I was, and she said, how's it all going? And I just said to her, I have never been so bored in my entire life. My son did not sleep, so I was up for huge amounts of the day, but I couldn't do anything other than, you know, feed, change, cuddle, because when they're really little, they really don't do much at all. And she was horrified. She told me off. You can't say that. Look, you've got a beautiful baby. It's like, yeah, but he doesn't do anything.
You can't tell somebody how to feel.
No.
You feel how you feel. Yeah. Pregnancy is the same. Some of my friends, some people that I know loved being pregnant, adored it. It was the greatest process ever. I absolutely hated being pregnant. Hated it. 98% of it, I hated it. I really did. It was awful. Some of the things are really great. And when you feel her kick for the first time and like the sonars and stuff are good. But I didn't like it at all. Everything changes in your body. And half of what happens to you, you weren't prepared for and you didn't know was going to happen beforehand. It's just like a surprise.
It's that well-kept secret. trust me, when you get to the other end, menopause is very similar, although that's now becoming more spoken about. But this is the thing is, if you don't allow women to be honest about how they're feeling, and I'm not saying that I was permanently bored with my son. Obviously, as things gone on and I was actually allowed out and I could drive and I wasn't just sitting in a house, looking at four walls and feeding and staying awake, then yes, it was fine. But we have to go, it's okay sometimes to go, I don't want to be a parent. I don't like being a parent. And children never read parenting books either. So those people that just say, well, you read this book, it's like your child never reads that book.
I think I was woefully unprepared. I don't know if everybody's as unprepared as we were, but
nobody knows.
You read so many of the books. I think you were very prepared.
I didn't feel it. When I got there, I was still like, what? I genuinely thought she was going to sleep through the night from 3 months old. I genuinely believe that. I don't know why.
And if you didn't, then it was down to you. Because this is the other thing, that whatever your child does is your fault. So if your child goes to nursery and is having a really crabby day and hasn't slept, and for some reason decides to, I don't know, shout or kick out when they're being, it's like, well, it's down to you. And it's like, okay, so yes, there are parental influences, but we can't say that all of our children's behaviour is because of us, because then your child's got no autonomy. Your child will need you to make all of their decisions for them and direct their lives forever.
Yeah, exactly. So it is okay to think that being a parent sucks, because often it does. And unfortunately that doesn't change.
But also try and find, hopefully find some friends or people that you can talk to that aren't as competitive. So it's, you can talk about the good stuff that your child does. There's nothing wrong with that. But if that's all you ever, how many words can your child? I remember that one. What reading level is your child? Mine's on this. Or
is yours crawling yet? Does she roll over yet? Yeah. Yeah. The first 2 years of parenting are really competitive. What is that?
If you don't play, you don't compete.
Yeah. Fair. Yeah. Yeah. It's not a comparison. Some kids do things early, some don't. My daughter was really advanced with language, but really late to walk. They do things differently at different times. Everybody has different skills, and everybody's walking now. One of those.
Well, you'd hope that they would all walk, but they might even also be differently abled. It's not.
Yeah.
Your value isn't intrinsic on nobody. When you're going for an interview, says, "And how old were you when you learnt to read?"
Yes. And at what age did you potty train?
Yeah.
Maybe they should. David, at what age?
Just now, recently.
3 years ago. Okay, so we've gone very onto parenting now.
Well, you started talking about parenting, so sorry. I think we're probably talking more about self-care for mums and stay-at-home mums.
Yes. So back to general everyday people's well-being.
It's exactly the same thing. Don't compare yourself with other people. Don't compare yourself with social media or media in general, because they are promoting images to try and, most of the time, to try and get you to buy things. Influencers are influencers because they're selling stuff, because companies are paying them. Everybody's
selling stuff. I don't really read much mainstream media, anything anymore.
Just InfoWars.
Hey?
Just InfoWars. Sorry, bad joke.
I definitely don't read InfoWars. I don't think InfoWars even exists anymore.
The world is the right place. It shouldn't, but yeah.
It's difficult to know where to get credible news that's not fear-mongering. Everything is fear-mongering. Like we say, like, okay, cost of living crisis, we're all going to die. Pandemic, we're all going to die.
Yeah, but it comes to the fact that everybody's trying to sell you something. Everything's financially motivated, and nobody's going to click on or read an article that says carrots are slightly more expensive. Carrots, there's a carrotocalypse. We're all going to starve. Nobody's going to be able to see in the dark anymore. It's sensational. That's how things work. It's what marketers do. That's what the media does. And as soon as you click onto one thing, you enter an echo chamber, and you get that same story over and over and over again until you stop believing it.
It gets bigger and bigger and bigger, doesn't it? I remember I did enjoy watching. Do you remember the petrol crisis? I'm sure we all remember the petrol crisis.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And I had the radio on that day when it broke. And the first radio news report said that there were some shortages due to distribution issues in one part of the country. That was the first bulletin. I heard that change and the language change as the day went on. And it became more and more emotive and more using the word crisis, shortage.
And less and less factual.
UK's petrol crisis. And it was like...
But it turned into one because everybody started hoarding, and it's COVID with the toilet paper again. It's just
self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah.
But then it was, well, these terrible people who are going and filling up their cars are really, really selfish. And it's like, but the thing with petrol is it's quite hard to hold because, you fill up your tank and then you're kind of done. But so then there was another backlash about all of the people that selfishly went, and it's just like, it's just about trying to go, what's really going on here? So a therapy reframe when things are getting really heated and emotional is to take all of the emotional language out of whatever statement and look at it again. So if you take out, so devastating effects of the cost of living, then it's just the effects of the cost of living. Soaring prices. Okay, we'll take away soaring. What's happening? Prices are going up. But by what percentage? It's about trying to take a breath, take a step back and say, what's my reality here? Not what are everybody else trying to tell me that the reality is.
There needs to be like some kind of media literacy taught at schools, or it should be more common knowledge, the media literacy, how to consume and analyze articles and see what the motives behind it are.
Well, yeah, when I remember when I first learned about moral panics, media related moral panics, and at that time it was about young people wearing hoodies. Before the moral panic about everyone wearing a hoodie was a potential criminal that was going to mug you, then kids just wore hoodies.
Now whenever we see someone wearing a hoodie, we cross the street.
Yep. So consume me. So for well-being, consume not saying don't read media, but just take it with a pinch of salt and just reflect on what's my reality in this.
Be careful what you're consuming and from where.
The thing is, you can consume it from anywhere, but it's always having a lot of it is opinion. So it's quite hard to work out the fact from the opinion.
Yeah. So not every headline is fact. Little bit of critical thinking and not jumping straight into a panic and getting anxiety every time you see a headline with, like you say, the emotive language in it.
Yeah, so read it again without the emotive language and replace the emotive language to factual.
Yeah. So I was just writing down some highlights here. Some basic steps for well-being. So I think we have to think about rest. So obviously that includes sleep, but not just sleep.
So that's also relaxation. So
Yes.
So relaxation and sleep.
So we need to sleep. I mean, to look after your well-being, you have to look after your sleep. It's very, very, very hard to feel good and motivated and think critically about things and look into the future and get up and, party for the day.
But don't beat yourself up if for whatever reason you're an insomniac or you can't sleep. The thing with this is, you're right. Well-being is, try not to have everything as optimal. Right, I need 8 hours of sleep, because then if I don't get it, this is gonna, it's about, okay, so what's the optimum sleep for me? Because the other thing is, people need different lengths of sleep. So
Definitely.
Am I getting enough sleep, and am I getting some time to relax
and
unwind?
Yes. So not judging yourself, but making improvements where you can, based on your personal scenario.
Well, yes. Yeah. I mean, looking and your energy levels. The other thing to remember is that we could sit here and say, okay, so, you've got sleep and you've got movement and nutrition and you've got, keeping your brain active. We could do all of this, but it's also about how much energy have you got?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Mood boosts, any little mood boosts. So, the really little things, playing your favorite music, your favorite track on the radio, or, going for a walk somewhere you really like. Just those tiny things that always make you feel good.
Yeah. And at some points in my life, the movement category for me has looked like a 7K run. At other times, movement for me has looked like getting up, stretching for 5 minutes and getting back in bed. And that was the best I could do some days.
And that's it. It's about adapting. You can't be at 100%. Even with well-being, you can go, okay, so I'm going to manage my financial well-being. So I'm going to make sure that I have a budget, and I'm going to stick to the budget. And then you go, okay, so now I'm going to manage my sleep. And it's like, okay, so try and focus on an element of well-being at a time.
Yeah. So I'm going to try and take, a little walk when I can. I'm going to try and get in a little bit of movement every day.
Yeah, one thing. So you choose one thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Incremental steps. Because the other thing is, it's overwhelm and burnout, which is what we need, why we need well-being, is overwhelm and burnout. So what happens is we go, oh no, I'm burnt out, so I need to do all these things. And now, right, movement, nutrition, sleep, right, and keeping my brain active, looking after my child. So it's like, okay, so if you are getting to that frazzled point, it's like, what is one thing that I can change or do differently? Yeah.
Just one.
And then once that becomes habit.
So you've got 60 days. So do that for 60 days. But reevaluate as well. Oh, okay. So I said I was going to go for a walk. Actually, I really don't like going for a walk. I'm going to do something else. Just because you say you're going to do it, if you hate it, you don't have to do it.
Yeah. Don't force yourself to stick to something you don't like. Yeah, the movement, I think, has got to be something you enjoy. Otherwise, you just won't do it. Yeah, it's the same with nutrition. Like, you don't have to force yourself to eat the big pile of broccoli if you hate broccoli. Have something else. Have something you do like.
Yeah, kale smoothies. Really, not unless that's really going to cheer you up.
We did cabbage soup for a while. It wasn't good. It wasn't okay. Yeah. Yeah, and like just being gentle with yourself, celebrating the wins as well. I know someone who shall remain nameless who will beat themselves up for not exercising, But then if they do exercise, they'll be like, oh, but I only did like 5 minutes, and oh, I only did, like there's never a win. Or even if they exercise for longer, they'll be like, oh, but I didn't lift as much as I used to, or run as far as I used to, or they constantly, it's never good enough. Whatever they do, they never pat themselves on the back and be like, cool, I'm so glad I did some exercise today, or whatever. So just be like, yeah, cool, I did that thing today. Like,
I think it's like getting old, dude. Like, realize you're getting old, and nobody wants to be old.
But that's where your creativity comes in. So you go, oh, okay, so now I can't do that thing that I did when I was 20, but there's probably other things that you can do, or things that you can do slightly differently.
Mm-hmm. And be glad of the things that you can do. Don't beat yourself up for the things that you can do. Don't run 4Ks and then go, 3 months ago I could run 5Ks much faster. Go.
But it's also about enjoying what you do. You're more likely to move if you enjoy what you do. If you hate running and you go out and you run 5K every day and you hate it, then the benefits mentally are going to be a lot less than if you enjoy, I don't know, think of anything, a round of golf, and you go and play golf every day, and while you're playing golf, you're relaxing, you're chatting to your friends, you're out in the environment, all of those things that are designed to chill us out, and you're walking, then that's going to be more beneficial. So movement's the same as nutrition. You find the things that you enjoy doing.
And that you want to get up and go do. You don't have to fight yourself to get up and go do. Yeah. So rest, move, eat,
drink,
check in with yourself.
Find time for some fun.
Have fun. Definitely have fun. Connect with people. This is something I listened to the other day. How much connecting with people can change. Like you said, lonely. Big impacts, I think, on your mental health. I think for varying degrees for different people. I mean, some people can have half an hour of conversation once a week and be fine and happy with that. Like the person I'm married to. And other people like me need to constantly have social interaction to be happy. So whatever your levels are, but we do need to connect with other human beings. Most of us, the vast majority of us. Is that fair?
No, we do. Yeah, to be honest, we do need to connect with human beings. Isolation isn't good. The problem is that a lot of us have forgotten how, and we've got out of the habit, because it used to be pre-COVID, you would connect with people, you'd probably say hi to the person in the supermarket, you'd connect much more. So it's just slowly getting back to that. We are social people. Our brains are evolved to live in tribes and be with people. So absolutely connection, and being outside as well. I know we talked about movement, but nature. So if you want to be productive, there's studies that have shown that taking a break from work will make you more productive. Taking a break from work and walking somewhere where there is some form of nature, and that can just be a tree in the middle of, some concrete, will increase your productivity even more.
I think we underestimate the effects of nature on our mental health, on our well-being. Absolutely. I read a study recently about how the dopamine enhancing effects of exercise done in a gym versus done outdoors. You feel much better for much longer if you exercise outdoors. So if you go for a walk in the forest versus going for a run on a treadmill inside. And just anecdotally, I know for me, I 100% feel better if I'm outside. I love being outdoors.
Yeah, and I do walking therapy sessions. So we have the session outside walking. And there are generally, I find that people have more insight when we're outside walking. I've not actually managed to do the empirical study on it, but my experience is that people have more aha moments when we're walking.
Yeah, I think that's a huge thing. So just like get outside a little bit. Just try when you can. I suppose for a mom, a stay-at-home mom, like we were talking about earlier, you could be taking your baby in a pram to the outdoors, and then you're covering your being outside, spending time with your kid, and your movement all at once.
Yeah.
So you can combine a lot of the things together as well.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're coming up to about our time. Is there anything that we haven't covered that you want to add?
Purpose.
Right. Absolutely.
So just every now and then remind yourself why you do what you do and why you're here. Because otherwise it just feels like a treadmill, and it's just like, why am I doing this? You know, I'm working, I'm looking after these children and all this, where? So sometimes take a step out to look at that bigger picture. What's my purpose? Big existential questions, really. But, you know, what do I want my life to be like? Why am I doing this?
Yeah, what do I actually want? Where do I want to be in 10 years from now? Is this the life that I want? Is this fulfilling? Is there something else that I need? It's a lot.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
At the moment, it's just connect with a purpose. You know, if you're a stay-at-home mum, then actually the reason that you're a stay-at-home mum is that you've chosen to stay at home and look after your child. For now, that is your purpose. It doesn't have to be your purpose forever. Your purpose can change. My favourite saying, we are not trees. If we don't like where we are, we just get up and move somewhere else.
And it doesn't define who you are. You are not, as a person, a stay-at-home mom. You are still, as a person yourself. It's just right now, what you are doing with your time and your chosen purpose is to be at home with your child.
Some of the time. But this is where your self-care comes in, because if all you do is look after your child and go to bed, then that becomes your sole reason.
You lose that sense of self.
But it is hard.
It is so hard. Yeah, it really is. It really is. I mean, she's 4 now, but it's still hard. But those first 2 years, it's like Groundhog Day.
Well, it's always like Groundhog Day. If you have children, basically, you are going to spend most of your life cooking, cleaning, tidying up and washing. My son's 20, and I still probably spend a lot of my time doing those things.
Yeah. And you just... There's so many other aspects to you. I think definitely for the first 2, maybe 3 years of my child's life, I didn't have the things that I wanted to do and work towards, whereas now I do. And I think it does make a huge difference to my mental health. Even if I spend, I mean, now she's on half term. So when she's here, even if you're spending the majority of your day having to look after her, because that's what has to happen right now, there are still moments that I'll be like, okay, I'm gonna go write down some ideas for my YouTube channel, or I'm gonna email somebody to be a guest, or I'm gonna whatever XYZ, and then I feel like, okay, I'm doing this thing, this is for me, it has nothing to do with parenting, it's not about my child, it's not about my family, this is about me. And then even if I spend just half an hour doing something like that, it just makes me feel more like a person in my own right. Like I am a person too.
You are
I do things. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So we wrap it up there?
We'll wrap it up now.
Good. Thank you so much for the conversation.
All right. Enjoy the rest of your day.
I'll edit it and put it on YouTube, and then I'll send you the link before I make it public.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. Bye.
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 Bye, David.
Bye, David.